In this section, we are going to go through goal setting. Goal setting is important in your business because it gives you something to work towards, and it also helps hold you accountable to ensure that you are taking action steps in order to get to the goal. So we have people watching this who are at different levels. Some of you are here scaling to a 7-figure year. Some of you are here scaling to multiple 6 figures, and some of you are here to scale to those 6 figures. But one thing I want you to do is look at what is your goal for the next 12 months in your business. So let's say it's 100,000. If your goal is 100,000, then on average, you need to be hitting $8,333 or pounds, if it's in pounds, every single month. If it is a million, then you need to be hitting on average 83,000 every month for 12 months to hit that million in 1 year. But when you're mapping out your goals for the year and thinking about your goals for the year, it doesn't have to be the same goal every single month. So you don't have to have the same goal of $8,333 every month or 83,000 every single month. You'll have some months that are more successful than others due to many factors, such as what are you launching that month? Do you have a launch strategy? What is the strategy that you're utilizing? So not every month will necessarily be even, but by having a goal and averaging each month, or having an average for each month that you know you need to hit, is then going to allow you to each month see if you are on track to hit your yearly goal. Now, one thing to consider is when you are setting goals, think about what is your yearly goal. So if your yearly goal is to hit 6 figures or 7 figures, that would be 100K or a million. So you know that's what you want to hit for the next 12 months. From there, I always recommend breaking it down into quarters. So what are you going to hit in quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4? And then from there in months. And one of the reasons that we do this is so we can regularly review our goals. Don't just wait till the end of the year to look at how well you have done with your goal or how well you haven't done with your goal. By having your overall goal, your yearly goal, and breaking it down, you can then have monthly and quarterly reviews to see where you're at with your goal and to ensure that you can hit that yearly goal. And you can look at what has worked well and what hasn't worked well, and therefore what you need to improve. And by sitting down and doing these reviews each month and every quarter and looking at where you've hit your goal, where have you over hit your goal, where have you under hit your goal, you're then able to review why that was the case and review each month what worked really well to help you hit that goal, what didn't work so well, and therefore what can you improve. And then you can improve moving forward in your business. You can use more of what went well, and then you can begin to remove things that aren't working well. So we set goals because it gives us something to work to, it holds us accountable, and it allows us to be more strategic with what we're doing rather than just throwing spaghetti at the walls and going with the flow. Now, there are businesses out there who are doing very well by just going with the flow, but that isn't going to work for everyone, especially if this is your first business and you haven't previously run a business, because you don't know what is and isn't working. So you need to be more strategic by setting goals and reviewing what is and isn't working within your business. Now, as I mentioned, you don't have to hit the same every single month. So for example, the $8,333, you don't have to have that as your goal every single month. You can, of course, if you wish. But one way I like to set my goal is when I'm planning for 12 months, I set my yearly goal. For example, a million. And then I like to break it into quarters, and I always start as having quarter 1 as my lowest quarter. Now, the reason that I do this is because as each quarter goes on, my audience should get bigger. My reputation should build even more. I'll be perfecting my strategies even more. I'll be perfecting how I bring in sales. So as each quarter goes on, I should be perfecting more things that I'm doing in my business, improving strategies, and also building up my reputation and authority. So my audience in January of that year versus December should have grown as long as I am doing daily action, weekly action, and monthly action to ensure that's happening. So whenever I set my goals, I always like to set quarter one as the lowest, and then each quarter gets bigger and bigger as my audience grows, as more clients come into my programs, as I build more trust, and as I retain clients, and so on and so forth. So this is just one example of how you can begin to break down goals. Quarter one could be your lowest quarter, then each quarter it can get higher and higher. So if quarter one is 15,000, that's an average of 5,000 per month. It might be actually the first month I hit 2,000, but then the next month I hit 8,000, and then the next month I hit 5,000. Each month might not necessarily be 5,000, but by having this quarterly goal and breaking it down onto an average of what I need to hit each month, that then gives me an idea of how much I need to sell each month in order to get to my overall quarterly goal. And I want to hit these quarterly goals so I can hit this overall yearly goal. So I want you to consider, when you're planning your yearly goals, how are you breaking it down? Is each month going to be the same average, or are you going to do it where quarter one is smaller, then each quarter gets bigger and bigger depending on those factors I just went through? Another thing to consider is when you are setting your goals, are there any times throughout the years where you're doing big launches? So in my business, around 3 or 4 times per year, we do huge launches. And these launches is where we put all of our effort, our energy and resources. So it works out at around 1 per quarter. And we do these big, huge launches because it then sets us up for success for the rest of the quarter. It helps bring quick cash injection as well as recurring revenue. So that's another thing to consider, is when you're setting your monthly goals, it might not be a case that each month it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and higher and higher and higher. You might see that in January you do a massive launch, and then in April you do a massive launch, and then in July you do a massive launch. So those months are likely then to be where your biggest goal is, because that's when you're putting your resources, your time and energy into these bigger launches. So for myself, I usually do 1 big launch per quarter, which helps with cash injection as well as bringing in recurring revenue through payment plans. In between, I might then do smaller launches like the odd masterclass, or I might just simply show up consistently with my content. So I want you to consider, how are you breaking down your goals? The next thing that you need to consider as well is what the goal is. Is it a profit goal? Is it a cash goal? Or is it a sales goal? So I see a lot of people, they're setting goals, they're setting 100K or $1 million for the year, but they're not actually clear or being clear to themselves whether this is a profit goal, a sales goal, or the cash goal. So your profit is the money that is coming into your business, so the cash that's actually hitting your bank minus all of the expenses. It's what you're left with afterwards. It's the profit. Your profit's really important to look at, because it's then your profit that you then pay yourself from, and the profit that you can reinvest back into the business in order to grow it. Your cash is the money that's hitting your bank account before all expenses are taken out. So you could have 100K cash coming into your bank, but if your expenses are 90,000, then that leaves you with 10,000 profit. And it's out of that 10,000 profit that you'll be able to pay yourself after taxes. Now, sales is everything you have sold, pay in full and payment plan. So if you are selling a program that is $1,000, if 5 people pay in full, that's $5,000 in cash. But if then 5 people go on a payment plan, and let's say the payment plan is $200 per month, then that's only $1,000 cash you have now, but a $5,000 in sales. So you also want to consider sales that are coming in, which is the total of your payment plans and pay in full, so the total amount of each sale. You then want to consider cash, because the cash is actually what's hitting your bank account. And then you want to look at what is profit, which is all of the cash minus the expenses with what you're left at the end. And remember, you then have tax after that. So when you're looking at your goal, really consider, is this the goal I want to pay myself? Is this my profit goal? Is it my cash goal, or if it's my sales goal? Because if it isn't the goal to pay yourself or your profit goal, and actually it was your sales goal, but you want to still pay yourself 100,000, you're going to now have to increase that goal as well. So it's another important thing to consider when you're looking at your goals. So when goal setting, some things to think about. Whenever I set a goal, I always think about what is the reason behind my goal? Why do I want that to be my goal? And there's various things that I will look at when I'm considering this. One will be previous growth from the previous years, and I'll be looking at how much I'm growing. So I know since starting my business, every year we double with growth. So my goal for this year is also to double. But I don't just consider that. Some other things that I consider are, what are our current expenses? So what expenses do we have coming out of the business? Because our goal, we need to make sure we're covering all of that. And then we also make sure we plan ahead. So what could be any future expenses that we have coming out? So this could be this year as we grow. It could be predicting, are we going to need new team members? Are we wanting to invest in any areas of the business? Are we wanting to join someone's mastermind? So we consider what are current expenses that we have, what are potential future expenses coming out over the next year, and then we add those together. I then consider, okay, what do I want to be paying myself? So if you want to be paying yourself 100,000, you also need to consider that, because your business can't just then make 100,000, because you'll have all of your expenses come off that. And if your expenses are 30,000, then you're left with 70,000 before tax. You then need to take off your business tax, your corporation tax, your VAT, and whatever other tax you have according to what country you're in. Once you've taken all of that tax off, you're then left with what you can pay yourself. So what are your current expenses? What are your future expenses? And what do you want to be paying yourself? Also consider any future desirables that could come into that factor. So one year when I was setting my goals, I looked at what my current expenses are, what my future expenses are, what I wanted to be paying myself. But another thing that I had to consider is I wanted to buy a house. So because I wanted to buy a house, I knew I needed X amount for the deposit. So I also actually looked at that within my goals for my business. You then add all of this together, and that's going to be the minimum goal you want to set for your business. And of course, don't forget tax. So here in the UK, once your revenue gets more than £80,000, you don't just pay corporation tax. So corporation tax is the tax you pay on all of your profits. So if I make 100,000 profit, I have to spend or have to put 20,000 of that aside for tax if the corporate tax is 20%. It changes. So as an estimate, if corporation tax is 20%, I have to put 20% aside, which then leaves me 80,000 left. But here in the UK, we also have VAT. So this is another type of tax, and this tax isn't just on profit, it's on anything that we sell. So if my package is £5,000, that's going to get taxed by 20%. So then £1,000 of that also goes into tax. So these are other things as you're scaling a business and getting serious about scaling that you need to consider. So let's just quickly recap on that. Number one, when setting a goal, Think about your current expenses, future expenses, what you want to be paying yourself in future desirables. Add this together, and that's the minimum goal you want to hit in your business. But also consider the tax around that. Tax is going to vary from country to country. Remember, if you're in the UK and you're a limited company, you have corporation tax on all profits made, but you also have VAT after you hit the £80,000 threshold. Before the £80,000 threshold, you don't have to pay it. But after that, you do. But on the flip side, the benefit of being VAT registered is anything you buy for your business, you can also claim tax back on that. My biggest recommendation when it comes to these numbers, and especially as you're beginning to grow, is hire an accountant. And as you get to the really big numbers, the multiple six figures and sevens, really consider hiring a financial director. That's what we did in my business, and it's one of the best decisions that we ever made. And if you would like to learn more about that, feel free to message me, because I work with an incredible financial director who I highly recommend. But working with an accountant or a financial director, they're going to be able to support you with these numbers. Because business isn't just about selling. It's actually then, if you're selling and bringing money into your business, how to most effectively use that money. An accountant will be able to tell you about your current expenses and support you with the tax side. A financial director is going to be able to dive deeper into it and really support you with things like how to save on tax so you're not spending as much, where to best reinvest back into your business so you see a higher return on investment. So business isn't just about putting some posts out and hoping for some sales. When you're really looking to start and scale a sustainable business that brings in consistent revenue, you need to begin to consider these things as well. But it all starts with goal setting. We want to set a goal so we know what we're working towards. And so we can then, from there, look at our offers and what it is that we are going to be selling at what price in order to then hit the goal. And then from there, we look at the strategy. All of which we are going to be covering in the trainings as you move further along through this program. So, action step. I would like you to go away and map out your goal. So consider these factors we just went through and really think about, what is your goal for the year? When are you planning on doing some of your bigger launches? And then break that goal down into quarters and months. This is then going to help hold you accountable, because you'll then see what your goal is and ensure you're taking action in order to get to that goal.